Let's talk about loneliness,
Mm.
especially for the light worker. One of the things I do love about December is there's so many holidays, and they're all about, if you look at the Jewish faith, where it's uh, coming out of the darkness and moving into faith, and their whole Hanukkah and having enough oil, and that's the abundance and plenty out of seemingly not enough to keep the flame lit in their temple. And then you come into Christmas, where so many people are celebrating the birth of Christ, and so that there's new births, and then there's Kwanzaa, and that's another kind of celebration. And so we've got all of that December, and then on a spiritual alchemical level, that's kind of coming together and moving through us. And then, of course, on the human level, there is the way you celebrate the holiday or not with your family and your friends. And, we've got COVID into the mix. And so that's shifted the way the holidays are done. But there's all of this energy. And then, and I like to call it the new birth. And then we come into the new year, which sustains that. And then, of course, traditionally in years past, it was like a new chapter of, what do I want to let go of? And what do I want to embrace? So if you're on one end of the scale of doing new resolutions, and those resolutions, if you can make it to the 19th of December, you did a good job. Because it's like that enthusiasm, you're working on that energy, you know. And so one of the things that I would really suggest is to take a look at the theme of what you want to embrace for this new chapter that's going on in your life. And to embrace a new theme, you have to let go of the old. And inherent in that, when we look at part of that alchemical energy that has been building up either consciously or subconsciously through this COVID and the pandemic and all of the fussing and fighting that's been going on, and the sides being drawn in the sand, vax, no vax, and both sides, and if both sides have got um, the lens that they're looking through. And so if we take a moment to step outside of that and look at the world through their lens, you'll see that they are really the same vibrational scale, just different degrees. And it's a lonely place, this scale, because whichever side you're drawn on, you're cutting out the other side from your reality. And that's a lonely thing. And so inherent in all of this is the loneliness that is running through having to artificially, on a human ego intellect level, sustain that us versus them illusion. Because when you get right down to it, if you let go of it all and you really sink into the divine love of you, you know that we're in this together. And it's a very symbiotic relationship, so it's like the left hand hating the right hand and wanting to chop it off. I mean, what's the point? Let's let them work together in some way, shape, or form. So there's that loneliness. And then there's the loneliness of being forced into a lifestyle that's different than perhaps the lifestyle you would have chosen pre-pandemic, or if the pandemic wasn't a part of it. So there's that. The loneliness from being unable to sustain the illusion of what you thought you wanted, and being forced to feel into what is it that you really want. And that's not only an individual journey, it's can be a painful one, because you're asking a part of what you've been holding as truth up in your ego intellect to die, so that something deeper can rise up and be born. That's a lonely feeling. And then as these new illuminations come up, and you recognize them in your bones, you recognize them in the love, you recognize them in the very cells of your physical being, and in the very all aspects of your multidimensionality. And you want to share that, but it's lonely, because the first conditioned response from the human experience is to find somebody else that has had a similar experience. And nobody can experience you as you have experienced you. And so that's kind of lonely. And now we've taken touch out of the mix. You know, Italians are huggers. This is an example. I'm a hugger. Italians are huggers. And we're having to air hug, but it doesn't have that same tactile feeling. And so that participates to the loneliness that is just in the collective consciousness. And that we are, so even if you individually are not lonely, that you're living fully in your light, you are expressing yourself within this pasta, within this flux and flow that's in the collective of a sense of loneliness anyway. And then there's that first step out of the old paradigm of your conditioned response and taking that step into the new. That means letting go of what you think you know so that you can do one of those stop, look, let, love moments. You stop, take a look at what you're letting go of, take a look at your situation, and then let it go again. So it's a look, let go, look, let go, look, let go, and then let love flow. And let it flow from infinity through within. It goes through that divine spark, your origin spark of all of creation, that I call your divine soul knowing, up through your divine heart, human heart, and just let the love spill out and flow all through you. In your emotional body, in your physical body, in your mental body, in your intellectual body, in your heart bodies, your soul bodies. And I say that in plural, all of the multidimensionality of you. And ask for that loneliness to be transformed into the illumination of recognizing your oneness with all. And that way you can transform that loneliness, that sense of loneliness, whether it's just a little whisper or it really is big time lonely. You let that be transformed into a very deep recognition of your connection, the symbiotic relationship that we're all in. And what happens in that is you organically, the more you let go of hanging on to that feeling of loneliness, let go of what you were feeling lonely about. You might feel a little ache in your soul, but that's the ache of letting go. It's not the ache of holding on. And just relax into that ache of letting go. And you let the infinite intelligence, omniscient wisdom, and omnipotent, all-powerful, unconditional love of divine light. It's what you're created from, moving through you. And you let it transform that into the illumination and the recognition of the symbiotic relationship that we're all in. And that brings a tremendous sense of belonging. And then you're able to step out of that mirror universe. Because again, we've been taught to live in the hamburger universe where good is above, bad is below. We scramble in between, and to measure our self-worth is to measure what is mirrored back to us. That's why we're so hungry to find someone who thinks like we do, because we want it mirrored back to us. You start to step out of needing that mirrored back to you, because that is a lonely way of being that we've learned to medicate in years past by finding our tribe or getting that six-figure income or getting the stuff, sustaining the illusion. You stop looking at the world to mirror back to you. You stop, you recognize that that's what you've been doing, and you look within. And the moment you look within and relax into it, the love flows more freely. And you haven't done anything here other than let go. Because it's returning to your natural state. And your natural state of being is infinite unconditional love. And you're never lonely in that. You can't be, because we're in this together. And so, if you look at the polar, everything is vibrational, and you want to move along that vibrational scale. This is straight out of the Kybalion, the principle of polarity. And so loneliness, the opposite of that is deep recognition and fulfillment, right? Okay. So to move along that vibrational scale, everything that I've been talking about is going to naturally move you along that vibrational scale. into the full expression. It's very important to remember service. It's very, very important to remember service, not because you want to feel better, but because you sincerely want to serve. And the more you serve, then the more you step out of the judgment of yourself and others. And I mean fully and freely serve. And so the question becomes, okay, where do I serve? Who do I serve? How can I serve? If you're really allowing that love to flow through you, you're going to naturally and organically want to reach out with love to others. And so your own individual divine soul knowing will be guiding that human ego intellect in the right direction. And so it automatically will begin to take you deeper into your divine soul purpose. It may also take you out of what you thought was your divine soul purpose, so that you can step deeper into your reason for being here on earth. And we do all have a reason for being here on earth. And I will guarantee you, it is not for Jimmy Choo shoes. If you can afford them and you enjoy them, go for it. But it's not for the things. It is for deepening your awareness of your connection with all there is. It's for deepening your awareness of the symbiotic relationship that we're in with all there is. And it's also about you expressing yourself fully and freely, joyfully, joyously, unlimited, uninhibited, regardless of the circumstances, so that you don't wait for the circumstances to change to enable you to. That's the mirror universe. But you begin to express yourself more fully and freely within the existing circumstances, and your divine soul will guide you. So the first step is just to let go. Just to stop, acknowledge it, let go, and love yourself enough to recognize I'm lonely, even if it's like, oh my God, I'm lonely, I'm lonely, I'm lonely. Give yourself that cry, because that's touching all of the times that you sold off little pieces of yourself to become a little bonsai version of you. So love yourself enough to even recognize that, but let it go and let love flow. You can always recreate. That's the good news, because you do have that power. Loneliness is not your birthright. Infinite unconditional love is your birthright. So decide what your theme is, your theme of service, your theme of love, whatever your next theme is. It doesn't have to be for the year, but just decide on what your theme is of where you want to direct your attention away from the loneliness and towards recognizing the relationship. So that we're in with each other. So for some, it might just even be improving the relationship with a loved one. For sure, improving the relationship with yourself, your human ego intellect self, and your divine self. Or it might be reaching out. Do you feel called to reach out and try to build bridges against the us versus them? You know what you're called to do. But the first step is stop, take a look at it, let it go, even just for a moment, look within, and let love flow.